Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Second Son Woodworks. My name is Caleb and today I'm going to be showing you how I built this Flip-Top Workbench with adjustable outfeed support. Stay tuned. Before I get started, make sure to hit the subscribe button below so that you stay tuned for upcoming project videos, as well as it's just a huge help for my channel. Seriously though, hit that button. Alright, enjoy the film. The first step in this project is to cut down all of the 2x4s that will comprise the frame of this workbench. After that, I went ahead and constructed the base of this frame. I use a countersink bit and construction screws to attach everything together. The layout for this frame is super simple. Just watch me build this and you'll see how I did it. Once I had finished constructing the frame, I went ahead and attached these casters. I'll put a link for the casters in the description below. From there, I went back over to my miter saw to cut down a couple more 2x4s to add to the base. Once again, I use a countersink bit and construction screws to attach these 2x4s in a vertical position. I staggered the screws to increase the stability. While I'm attaching these 2x4s, I want to take this minute to say that I'm almost to 3,000 subscribers and I'm super excited. Thank you all for your support. I'm hoping that this video will push me over the edge. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. From there, I returned to my miter saw to cut down the stretchers that would be holding the pipe that will be within the actual flip top of the workbench. And you can see here I am drilling holes through these 2x4s with a Forstner bit where the actual steel pipe will sit. Following that, I used an additional 2x4 that was cut down a bit shorter, and I offset this 2x4 so that the pipe wouldn't move. I then inserted the pipe. From there, I went over to my workbench to break down some plywood with a straight edge and my circular saw. If you haven't seen the video of me creating this workbench that can be transported and broken down, check it out right here. Once I had finished breaking all the sections down with my circular saw, I then pulled out my jigsaw to cut the corners for the bottom shelves of the workbench so that they could sit in there nicely up against the 2x4s. Once everything was cut down to size and fit in place on the workbench, I attached all the pieces of plywood to the base with a Forstner bit and construction screws. After that, I began to construct the actual flip-top portion of this workbench. You can see here that the bench itself was kind of squeezing into the middle, and so it took a little bit of work to get the first 2x4s in. But once again, using a countersink bit and construction screws to attach everything together. And to see how I do this, just continue to watch, and you'll see how I do this whole flip-top. This is a pretty simple design. It's essentially two pieces of plywood that are sandwiched around that pipe with 2x4s to within the sandwich, and then it just freely this sandwich of plywood freely sits on the bar, and then thus it can flip around. Once everything was in place, I used 2 barrel bolts on one side of the actual flip top with corresponding holes on each side of the actual workbench so that when I flipped the top over, I could lock each tool in place. After that, I went ahead and attached my tools, and I gotta say, I was pretty excited for this. Just a quick note, I use my tabletop planer and table saw for this project, but you can use just about any tool that you may have in your shop for this project. If you do use a table saw, be cognizant of that space of the workbench between where you'll be standing and the actual front side of the table saw. You won't be able to use things like sleds and whatnot. You could rotate the table saw, but just be careful. Once the tools had been attached, I moved on to the business of the outfeed support, which for this outfeed support I'm using some scrap wood that you can see here on the right, as well as some 3/4 inch dowels and 1 inch PVC pipe. You can see here that the PVC pipe is left free sitting on those dowels in between that scrap wood. so that it can be rolling outfeed support. To cut out the holes where these outfeed support brackets will be sitting, I started out with a drill and then finished with my jigsaw. I then figured out the necessary height for the outfeed of my table to drill a couple holes where I would sit those lug nuts that are sitting in the middle that would essentially stop the brackets from sliding into the table. At this point, the project is complete. I want to say thank you all for watching and tuning in to the end of the video. Like I said earlier, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you have questions or comments, leave them below. And like I always say, build something cool. Take care, guys.